Anyway, all right, so you guys are in high school, so you'll be able to relate to this story a little bit more. You guys are probably, might be starting to talk about college now. Actually, Emma, you are probably for sure starting to talk about college, 100%. And it's terrifying, and it's so scary, and it's like the biggest decision ever. And it's okay if you mess up, because I was at Thomas More, and then I went to NKU, so it's okay if you mess up. It's okay. It's okay if you guys mess up. Don't worry about it. All right. So I started at Thomas More. It was my first, started there. Yeah. Yeah, the Saints. I don't know, is it Go Saints? I actually didn't even ever learn it. And then now I'm at NKU. Yeah, Larsa! Yeah, I saved 3 people. Did y'all? You don't even go there. Yeah, no, you go there now, unfortunately. R.I.P. Eagles. And yeah, sorry. Sorry to mention it. Anyway, so yeah, I started at Thomas More. It was my very first year, and you guys will get to experience this. Emma, you'll get to experience this one day, and for the rest of you guys, you'll for sure get to experience this. Day 1 at college is absolutely terrifying. I had a Trenta of the coffee, which I realized I should have clarified this last time. They have one more than a venti. Did anyone know that? One time I walked in and I was like, give me the largest you have. And he was like, we have a Trenta. And I was like, excuse me, you have a what? He was like, yeah, we have a Trenta. And they put more espresso. And I was like, hit me up with that. That is amazing, guys. If you ever need a lot of coffee, get a Trenta and add lots of espresso and you'll shake the entire day. It's great. So I had a Trenta coffee in my system. I had a little like oatmeal cookie, and I was ready to go. It was day 1. I went in there and I sat down in the front row because I'm a teacher's pet, and I was really excited. And they had these like really uncomfy like theater seats where you like have like the table that flips out, and I had no clue what was going on, so I like sat down on the table. I wrote on my lap for the first bit, and I saw people had tables, and I was like, okay. Anyway, you could tell I was a freshman. But I sit down. And I'm really excited. I'm shaking and, sweating probably, and I'm just terrified to be there. And then my teacher walks in. I don't even remember her name, but she was supposed to be really nice, and she wasn't. But she, everyone told me she was nice. Oh, I should mention, it was a 7 a.m. class. So I was up at 7 o'clock, and I was in Thomas More at 7 a.m., and which is just a terrible class time. They actually canceled them the next semester. They would forbid them from ever happening because, kids were dying or something because it was terrible. Anyway, so we get in there. I'm in there, and she walks in, and she's like, all right, hi, this is my name. I don't remember it. And we're doing intro to biology, my favorite class ever. Biology is the best. And she was like, and there's something that I want to clarify before we go into the rest of this. This is a Catholic college. It's a private school, which means I'm allowed to teach you whenever I want to teach you, and I'm allowed to determine the information that I give you and everything like that. You guys can have your own opinions, but I'm going to go ahead and clarify something for you guys and teach you something that you probably have not heard yet, and it's that the entire book of Genesis is incorrect. And she was like, yeah, I know. It's crazy that is the truth. And I was sitting there and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like God's Not Dead. Have you guys ever seen God's Not Dead? Yeah, you guys have. Thank God, none of the middle schoolers had seen it, and it made me feel old. But it's God's Not Dead. I'm like, God's not dead. You're sure? Yeah, and then I don't hardly remember it, but in the first movie, he walks into college, and the professor was like, your first assignment is to write God's dead. It felt like that. I was like, oh my gosh, this is real. I felt like I was in a God's Not Dead movie. But, disclaimer, college is not like God's Not Dead, I promise. It does get better than that, and you do get to learn awesome things. But for me, in that moment, I was really terrified. And this is just for this service, but right after that class, I left, and I went out into the library, and I found a seat, and I sat down, and this man walks up to me, and he was like, can I tell this story? Okay.
I'm not in charge of you.
I'm just taking you. He walks up to me and he said, are you a Christian? And I was like, yeah. And I got so scared. And he was like, so you're a Christian? And I was like, yeah. And he said, well, do you hate gay people then? And I was like, what? No. And he was like, oh, you hate them? And I was like, no, I promise I don't. I promise I love them. Like, I'm supposed to love them. And he was like, yeah, you're disgusting. And then he walked away. That was my first day of college, guys. And I should have ran as far as I possibly could. But I stayed, because education is good for you. And I love it. And I'm going to be a professor one day, I promise. But yeah, that was my first day. And that's only for this service, because, I don't know, I thought it was funny. And I wanted to be able to tell it. Anyway. So yeah, my professor tells me that the book of Genesis is completely false. She tells me that Genesis was something that she said Abraham would tell his kids before they went to bed, like a nighttime story, like, you just was like an idea that he had came up with and that he had just heard from generation to generation. And that moment, I look back at it now and I realize that it was the start of what college became for me, is that college forced me, those experiences, to question everything I had ever known and everything I had ever been taught. Because like I've said before, I grew up in the same place, Independence, Kentucky, going to CFC, going to CCA. Everything about me was the same until I got to college. And so that moment reminded me and taught me that I cannot ever believe exactly what I hear, even if it came from the people that I trusted. Yes, I trusted them and I agreed with them, but I encourage you guys to do this as well. I had to look into and have a reason for my faith, which is what it says in 1 Peter. I don't know if we actually got the verse, but in 1 Peter, I think it's Peter who says, always be prepared to give a reason for your faith. And that became true for me in that moment, because I started to have to answer questions like, how in the world could I possibly be a feminist Christian? Or how in the world could I think that God and science can operate in the same place? Or why in the world am I a Pentecostal? And what are Catholics doing? And why are they Catholics? And what is Ash Wednesday? And what is up with fish fries? I have no clue why they love them so much, and everything like that. So I had to answer all of those questions and be just reintroduced to my faith. And it was an awesome time, and I appreciate it, and I love it now. But when I look back on that moment, especially when I was thinking about what I was going to talk about today, I was really upset about what she said, because not necessarily Genesis 1, Genesis chapter book 1. It wasn't about the fact that she was saying that God didn't create the world in 7 days, or that this earth wasn't 6,000 years old, or that it wasn't the Big Bang, or anything like that. That we have the freedom to be able to look at that and come to our own conclusions in that way. It was more specifically that she was removing God from the creation story altogether. She took him out and said that there was no room for him to be there, and that it was science and science alone. And that was crazy, because God made science. And more specifically in Genesis 1:1, we know this verse because it's probably one of the most well verses known, with like John 3:16. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, right? That is a verse that we all know. And a verse that I want to introduce to you guys today, because it specifically goes with the name that I want to introduce you guys to, Elohim. And you might not know this, but Elohim is a really awesome name of God that is up on our board, the one that I was given, and it actually is the name that is in Genesis. So when you read this verse, and in our Christian Bible, it says in the beginning, God created the heavens and earth, but in the Hebrew Bible, it says Hebrew words, but then Elohim created the heavens and the earth. And they use the word Elohim there because to them, that version of God means the strong creator. So that's what that name means, the strong creator, God, the strong creator. And I love that. And what's really cool about Elohim is that it's used altogether 35 times in the Bible as a whole. And you wouldn't even know that if you didn't look into it, because, like I said, we use God in every context. But it's used 35 times as a whole. And most, specifically in Genesis, and even more specifically, Genesis 1:1 through Genesis 2:3, anytime you see the word God there, it's actually Elohim. That is the word that they're using. So that's where it is the most. It's concentrated the most, and that's because that's where it should be, because it's describing the creation story, and we need to understand that God created the heavens and the earth. So for the rest, outside of Genesis, Elohim isn't really mentioned as much. It has great verses, and I encourage you guys to look into them, but I didn't want to go into all of them because I wanted to focus specifically on the Genesis story and why it is so important and so significant to know God as the Creator God. So I brought a project that I have, and I'm not going to break it. Okay? Yeah. This is my bowl that I have, that I brought. Yeah, bowl. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thanks, guys. This is my bowl that I brought. I made him the other day. No, I made him in 4th grade. It's a him, yeah. It's a him. Yeah, green for boy, right? So yeah, it's Henry, obviously. Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, so this is Henry the Bull. I made him in 4th grade, and I obviously coordinated the colors perfectly: pink, brown, and blue dots, and bright green in the middle, and then like blood red over here. I I don't know what I was thinking. I love this bowl now. I didn't like it at the beginning because I'm a perfectionist, but now I can look at this bowl and love it. And this bowl, when I was thinking of this, I specifically remembered this bowl because I had forgotten about it. And I found it in my mom's room and was holding little seashells that we found in Florida, because we're basic. It is a nice little bowl that she keeps there. And I love it. I love it so much, even though, you might come up here and you might judge my bowl because it's not symmetrical or anything like that. And it also has this weird, indent, and it's 5 pounds of clay and everything. I don't know. You might judge it, but I love him. I love Henry. I'm in love with him, and he's my favorite little bowl. I remember when I made him, I was like, I'm so excited to eat Frosted Flakes out of this. I don't like Frosted Flakes, and I've never eaten cereal, so that's sad. Maybe I'll do that later. But anyway, this bowl reminded me of Elohim and also of this verse that I really love, Isaiah 64:8. And I'm going to read it really slow because I get tongue-tied. But now, O Lord, you are our Father. We are the clay, and you are our potter. We are all the work of your hand. And I love that. We are all the work of your hand. So a fun fact about this bowl, it cannot exist without me. Without me, little 4th grade me trotting onto the clay store. Oh God, like a penguin apparently. I trotted on in. And without me, in that moment, on that day, it did not exist in all the glory and beauty that it is. And I love it, like I said. And I like Isaiah because it reminds me that I am the bowl. I was the clay at one point. And I was being formed by the great Elohim, and he knitted me together, the Bible says, in my mother's womb. And he knew everything about me before it had even come to pass. And he counted the hairs on my head, and he still knows them now. And he knows everything about me, and he looks at me, and he loves me because I am his creation. He formed me, he knitted me, and he wants me to know that. He wants me to know him as the creator, as Elohim. And when we were talking about this at Carabella the other day, Jackson said something that I had to include because it meant a lot to the story that I was trying to portray. And he said, I was trying to figure out why it was so important to know him as Elohim and know him as the creator. And Jackson said, it is a countercultural act of faith to know God as the creator. Nowadays, it goes against everything that my professors are teaching me, everything that the science books are teaching us, everything that the world has put together wants to kick God out of the creation story. Everything wants to kick him out. And so therefore, it goes against all of culture. And it is a deliberate act of faith to know him as the creator of the heavens and earth, to know him as the creator of you and I, to know that he knitted us, to know that he formed us out of the clay. And no matter what they say, what you believe about the beginning, because that's not what matters. What matters in the Genesis story is Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and earth. And that's the point that I want you guys to take home today, because you can't take the creator from the creation. Like this bowl, if it wasn't for me, it would not exist. You can't take me away and expect the bowl still to be there. I can't take the Starbucks barista away and expect my Trenta cup to still be there, which is so sad. I can never imagine that, a life without Trenta coffee. So, to wrap it all up with the phrase that we are going to be using throughout this, there is a God who knows you. He formed you. He created you. He loves you. And he wants you to know him by name, specifically Elohim. Why? Because he is Elohim, the creator, your creator, and you can't take the creator away from the creation. I want you guys to remember that.